Yeah, Poland rework they did also say they were going to do. Oh, I see, with the USSR. Yes, Poland, Finland, Norway and USSR would make sense. The British politician Philip Noel Baker, Baron Noel Baker, commented after the war. The first great defeat for Hitler was the Battle of Britain. It was the turning point in history. If we had not had the Norwegian fleet of tankers on our side, we would not have had the aviation spirit to put our Hawker Hurricanes and Spitfires into the sky. Without the Norwegian merchant fleet, Britain and the Allies would have lost the war. Yeah, I've seen that, not necessarily by him, but I've seen other historians and contemporaries saying that. They're considering Norway, probably not Denmark, and they didn't think of making one for Sweden would hold any purpose until they added some form of currency, which they did not sound like they were keen on. I mean, they've been against adding a currency system since the start. Hence trade works in this weird way that trade works. In fact, I'm not even sure I can... Ooh. Husky has happened. Well, that could be a problem for them. This may well save France, because France is not looking too hot right now. Look how weak these units are. Oh man, France has been absolutely battered. I mean, they've done it to themselves almost certainly. They have enough manpower. They're still only on extensive conscriptions. That's just a loss of equipment. How many men has France lost? I dread to even look. Almost 1 million. UK's lost 500,000. Yeah, and this is just France pointlessly throwing themselves at Germany. See, it's not even against Italy where they've got all those losses. It's here. It's trying to attack across Maginot. Okay, so the Royal Navy main fleet is down there, so I think I'm going to take a little bit of a risk and put my main fleet out here. Are you going to give me roads yet? No. Come on! Oh, they're at sea. Oh, no, they're not. They're in the port in Crete, which is fine. But I'd kind of like to have them sail out and intercept over there. In fact, you know what? Let's turn this on. No, you don't fancy it? Okay, now their capital fleet has arrived. Oh, hi, guys! 4 destroyers were sunk. No submarines, though. Our submarines are doing just fine. There's the French capital fleet, looking a little battered. British submarines in the Adriatic, probably securing these guys. That's another naval invasion happening over here. Massively supported by the Mediterranean fleet. Oh yeah, we can upgrade our cannon. Let's do that. Fuel supplies are nicely topped off. Oh yeah. You guys should probably do that so you can get some planning prep going. And then once these units are built, I'll probably add them to the Bulgarian front. And then finish off the fortifications here. Still don't know what Bulgaria is exactly planning to do, because Germany is still approaching them, but they're still not very fascist. They are getting fascist influence. Fall of Moscow. Oh dear. See you, Mastani. At dawn today, German panzers smashed through the hastily erected barriers in the streets of Moscow, and the half-tracks were seen unloading panzer grenadiers in the Red Square. Thick, billowing smoke from the many fires raging in the suburbs could be seen rising into the air as the German infantry stormed the Kremlin. Grenades and flamethrowers were reportedly needed to fight stubborn NKVD holdouts intent on defending every inch of the complex. The Russian capital is now in German hands, but has been left in a burning ruin. Unconfirmed reports indicate Lenin's embalmed corpse was safely evacuated east. Is this the end of the Soviet Union? And Leningrad on the same day. Leningrad, birthplace of the Russian Revolution, has fallen to advancing German forces. Sporadic fighting can be heard from the suburbs, but a strange calm appears to have settled over the rest of the ruined city. Earlier today, columns of German soldiers marched past St. Isaac's Cathedral, whose great dome had been painted grey by the Red Army engineers to avoid the attention of marauding Luftwaffe bombers. Despite their efforts, it is riddled with bullet holes and shrapnel impacts. A significant development. I actually suspect that Italy is bundled up with the Soviet Union. They may be delayed to make it. They did not want a massive wait time like with Man the Guns, so they outsourced the three minor nations who was going to be with Italy and made this content pack ahead of time. Possibly. I actually quite like that they are doing this, because comparing to like mods, the vanilla focus trees are just so woefully lacking, and I do suspect that most of their development time is spent making mechanics. Even though the content team for Hearts of Iron is really good, there's just not enough of them. Although they did recently pick up the lead designer of Old World Blues. He now works for Paradox, and I think was involved in this. And I was actually watching Quill18 stream, and he commented that the Turkish focus tree looked like some of the Old World Blues stuff. And yeah, there are definite similarities in how they use the mutually exclusives. So that might well be that impact right there. So Leningrad's gone, Moscow's gone, Stalingrad still holds, and they have a fair amount of space to make up before doing that. And frankly, the Soviets, yeah, they've lost 4 million, but they can absorb those losses. I'm hoping that they've moved their industry east. In fact, by the looks of things, they have. Germany's got 320, they've got 170 or so. The Allies have 700, so we massively out-industry them. Mostly because France is still alive. So in fact, swapping Moscow for France, yeah, I'd take that trade. Because France also has a massive amount of manpower, and also a huge industry. Meanwhile, the Italian attacks against me seem to have ceased. Probably too busy dealing with this incursion. How's my focus? Still working on the modern navy. Still gaining political power. Actually getting a nice amount of political power, which is good. We have occupation problems, do we? Resistance target in occupied territories. Oh, right. Our stability is increasing the resistance target by 7. I did not realise that stability affected that. That's good to know. So if you need a way of just boosting your resistance target a little bit, boost your stability. There was the whole thing where the Norwegians and the Swedes said no French or British troops could go through the countries even to help the Finns. So have a word with the Finnish neighbours. They did let Swedes through though, and I think that British and French soldiers in Swedish uniforms or something were allowed through there. But there was a way of doing it, but they didn't send very many. I really love that Paradox took great notice on how dedicated and talented modders are and straight up hired them to make content for the games they already had content for, but now with a stable salary. Yeah, I mean, it's just a good practice for games companies, and it always makes me really happy when I see it. Like, having worked as a modder before, I know how much work goes into those things. It is a ridiculous amount. So seeing modders' skills appreciated in that way makes me very happy. Like, they're certainly not the first company to do it, and they won't be the last. In fact, I kind of wish the companies did it a bit more. In fact, if you're looking to get into the games industry, get yourselves on a modding team. Get yourself into a decent modding team. Because one of the main things that games company, what they called, HR, is looking for is experience, and one of the best ways of getting experience is modding. Because they always are like, have you actually produced anything? And it's like, I'm not in the industry yet, so how can I have produced anything? Well, actually, if you've modded stuff, or if you just started up your own studio and just released like one-man projects, even if they're very small, it gets you noticed. I remember talking to Creative Assembly recruiters at a convention, and went up to him and it's like, okay, he asked me, what do you do? I'm a game designer. And I could see him rolling his eyes and like switching off. It's like, oh, not another one. Because everyone and their dog calls themselves a game designer these days. And then he said, oh, have you actually released anything? It's like, yeah, actually I started up a studio called Totobo. We released this game called Vinland Arctic Assault. You can get it here. And he's like, okay, let's go over here and let's talk about this. I can tell that you're actually serious. So getting that experience is really important, and getting your foot in the door is really important. And in fact, if you take the route that I did, where you start as a modder, then basically recruit other modders into a commercial system, that can be a really good way of doing it. Start your own small studio. It only takes a person or two. Like, I was the designer, he was the programmer and artist, and actually, to be honest, he did the lion's share of the work. But it gets you noticed. The 1941 Imperial Conference. The British government has announced the 12th Imperial Conference. For the next 2 months, representatives from the British government and the Dominions will gather in London to discuss matters that concern the entire empire. So they may be trying to do Imperial Federation. I mean, that's mostly how people get into the industry, is it not? Getting swooped up by companies after seeing their mod work. Yeah. In fact, I have nothing to support this, but I strongly suspect that it's easier to get into the games industry as a modder than it is to, for example, have a degree in game design. Because lots of people go to university and have degrees in game design and stuff like that. But it's the experience they're after. They want the experience. They want you to be able to show that you have the ability to create stuff and release it. We have quite a few modders in-house that it's now hired. It's generally a great way to get in the industry. I think we have 2 modders on the team at the moment, I think. There you go. And modding takes less investment than creating a game. I mean, one of the great things about modding, especially again if you get into one of the bigger modding teams, is it's so good practice working with other teams. Like, if you're doing a one-man project, you're doing the art, you're doing the programming, you're doing the design, you're doing the marketing, you're doing everything, which fine, good skill set to have. But I'd actually argue that if you want to get into a bigger company where the salaries are probably higher, then you probably want that experience in teams. Like, I would not have had a clue how to handle working with programmers or handle working with artists, and believe me, their skill sets are completely different, and often their personalities are completely different. You need to use different abilities to interact with those guys properly and get out of them what you need. Especially programmers. God, I hate working with programmers. Sorry, programmers. Artists! I like artists. I get on with artists, but programmers... Yeah, there's something missing here. Narrative designers are most often recruited from comic book or novel writers. Yeah. In fact, I still remember the hubbub created when a games company hired like the first novelist. And they're like, we have an actual writer working on this game. It was a really big marketing deal. You and I get on okay, but it's not that kind of environment. True. And I think it's honestly, I just had bad experience with programmers. I've since then worked with a lot more better ones, but my gosh, getting programmers to actually do stuff was challenging. But I think, again, I think it was burnout on the team. I don't think it was actually their fault. It was a Pendor thing. I think it was a big mistake because we created Prophecy of Pendor version 3, pushed it out, and immediately started working on 4. And I was put in charge of Prophecy of Pendor 4, and we just got nothing done. And I think it was because the programmers were like, we literally just finished this massive project, and now you want us to work on another one? Come on, give us a break. I think that was a management mistake. We should have worked on supporting 3 more, released an expansion or 2, then started on 4. Lost the port. And yeah, I mean, this attack was never going to work. It's too early. Especially with France having problems. I mean, it's a good distraction. I kind of prefer this to be the distraction, though, because I'm way more fortified. Narrative writers are quite rare. It's one of the things I did. My skills, I mean, my main skill is world building. That's what I did. That's what I enjoy doing the most when I'm doing game design, is world building. Then probably narrative design, and then probably mechanic design. I love doing world building. World building is definitely my forte. The fall of Nanjing, the capital of the Republic of China, Nanjing has been occupied by forces from the Empire of Japan. Despite fierce resistance from the walled city's Chinese defenders, Japanese troops managed to capture Zhongshan Gate and fought their way into the city. So Nanjing is fine. Oh yeah, Japan's really starting to push now. I keep forgetting, it's still only 1941. Compared to the previous game, which we should really discredit considering it was all over by 43, this is more historical. Except for the fact that Moscow has fallen and Russia doesn't seem to be doing too hot, but they're still holding on to Crimea. It's mostly the northern flank which is falling. And Germany's gonna be struggling with attrition up here now. Like, this is not easy territory to be holding on to. Ooh, that's a big fight. Mostly destroyers. What the hell is my capital fleet doing? I still haven't seen them do anything. Battleships have no experience, so I don't think they've even left port yet. Italians running roughshod over North Africa, but we're still holding out in Egypt, although I've just noticed there's only one guy guarding here now. I might need to start sending troops to Egypt to make sure we hold on to Suez, because that's a very important lifeline for me. And should that fall, then I'm in trouble. Last of the defences are being built now. I think it's probably safe to upgrade those now. We'll have this as a fallback. Okay. And they're actually successfully pushing out here again, even without supply. They've been pushed back to the Rhine. This weird salient. I don't really know what that's intending to do. I think it was a nice attempt that didn't actually, you know, achieve anything. So we're definitely chasing down their fleet, and in fact, it looks like the Italian high Mediterranean fleet is mostly cruisers, heavy cruisers, which my battleship should be able to absolutely shred, and the British Mediterranean fleet's hanging out over here. .21 points. We're getting very close to being able to add the heavy SPAs. There's modern navy, and there's the cruiser submarine. Okay, so next technology. Disrupting the great powers, then long proud tradition. Now, we haven't actually done anything for a while. I'm going to keep on checking, though. Our place is not to contest the great powers of the world as they duke it out with each other in the fields and the seas. Instead, we shall hit them where it really hurts, their supply lines. How's my doctrine research going? It's going pretty well. And then I think what I'm going to do is Crete. And then dockyards in Crete. Okay, so we have construction lined up for quite some time now. How about getting the Hellenic Air Force to get the combat bonus through decisions? I mean, they're just not attacking me enough for it to be worth it. I'd rather be focusing on the naval bits, because that's what I intend to actually build up. They're attacking over Kiel again. Unsuccessfully. I mean, with the exception of the Italian push into France, that's pretty much stalemate. Germans are pushing hard now. They're trying to. But they're going to be losing more and more. 1.3 million. Oh, Soviets are starting to crumble. They must be really low on equipment. So they're just throwing manpower. So it's basically historical. Construction 4. Cool. Let's get concentrated industry. And possibly fuel processing. France is now dying hard. Yeah, because I think that France is just out of equipment. Because they were attacking across Maginot, which was freaking stupid. And also, they seem to have a massive number of troops over here. Because obviously that's the threat right now, France. Seriously? They've probably pulled this away from the Italian line. If the US enters the war in a month or so, they might be able to save France, but otherwise they are dead. I mean, Paris still hasn't fallen, and at this point, France's surrender level is not going to be that bad. Because they're not democratic. Can't see what they're doing. Can we see what their surrender level is? Yeah, see, they've got really high war support. So they're going to need to take a lot of France to get France to surrender. This is not the usual France. Is Turkey coming for us? Don't think so. They are being influenced by the fascists, though they're going to need to do a lot of influencing. Unlike Bulgaria, which might well fall. Although the Bulgarians are still not on my border. So it doesn't look like that's going to be the problem. So Italy is pulling more and more men away. How about we do an attack of our own? Don't really want to lose the manpower from this. That'll do. Just enough to keep them on their feet. Remind them we're here. Say hello. That was construction, so let's go fuel refining. Actually, did we stop doctrine? Oh, we stopped doctrine. Now, here's a question. Do we want to go assault or infiltration? I think if we attack, we want to do it with as many modifiers as possible. Which would be assault. Or we can just make our troops better at fighting. Which is infiltration. Especially these two. These three, in fact. I mean, leg infantry organization would be really nice. Those are basically irrelevant. Max planning, organization, breakthrough, max planning, organization. That's 5. 10. Organization for infantry, that's 5. 10. But this comes with the night assault tactics and reconnaissance, which this side doesn't. So max planning versus night assault. Nah, this is definitely an infiltration game. Yeah, the Italians have pulled a lot of men away from Albania. Look how weak some of these French units are. They are absolutely crippled by a shortage of equipment. And in fact, we can see how short they are if we go here. Yeah, they've only got 55% of what they need. Can we see what the Russians are on? No. Probably in a similar situation, though. We need our American industry to wake the hell up. That's what we need. No, I think I'm going to go to speed 4 because I'm not doing very much at the moment. Basically just waiting for a couple of later focuses to finish. And in fact, while we are waiting, I can tell you of a game which makes waiting much more easy to deal with, and that game is Raid Shadow Legends, which is currently sponsoring this channel. So if you would like to get yourselves Raid Shadow Legends and do this channel a humongous favour, then you can go to the link which will be appearing in chat any minute now, or you can go down to the banner in the About section down in the Twitch down there. Raid Shadow Legends is a free-to-play game, so it doesn't cost you anything to do, and for every download that we get, and you have to have completed the tutorial as part of that, which will take you about 5 minutes, we basically get closer to various milestones which we are trying to reach, and those milestones pay out very generously to the channel. So if you would like to support the channel, doesn't cost you anything, then please do consider grabbing yourself a copy of Raid Shadow Legends, which again you can find in chat over there or down there. By the time that this comes out on YouTube, I'm afraid that this campaign's probably over, so if you're a YouTube viewer, don't worry, not going to affect you. But if you're here on Twitch, then obviously it does, so please do consider helping the channel out in that way. The next milestone that we're trying to reach is 120 downloads. We've already hit the 60 and the 90, so we're doing really well, but I am confident that with the support of this community we can hit that 120. So please do consider helping out and grabbing yourself a copy of Raid Shadow Legends to do that. That would be awesome. The other thing I should talk about is the green bar, which is right there right now, which are the contributions. Those are when people buy a paid-for pack for the first time in the game. I also get a kickback. So regardless of how much you spend on those packs, not even packs, just your first purchase within the game, it's the equivalent of getting a subscription for me. So for every one of those contributors, that's basically free subscriptions for the channel as well. So 2 ways that you can support the channel, but the big one really is just grabbing yourself the free download. Does not cost you anything. And you can just play on the side. Like when I'm doing editing or rendering after a stream, just have it playing on the side, just something to do when waiting for things to happen. It's good for that. It looks very pretty too. The graphics of that game are phenomenal. Go check it out. Hungary claims overlordship over Slovakia. The Hungarians have raised claims that Slovakia could once more be part of their nation, either as an integral part or an autonomous region. Let's hope this works out peacefully. The German Reich caves to Hungary. After ample deliberations, the German government under Adolf Hitler has decided to give in to the Hungarian demands. They've accepted Hungarian control over Slovakia, preferring to appease Miklos Horthy to preserve peace. And it looks like we got another destroyer built. Yes, we did. We're now up to 9 destroyers and 2 battleships. Oh, that's the Dutch fleet? No. It's the Dutch submarines. Convoy sailing is done. Okay, seriously. Why are you not sailing out? This is annoying me now. Because this is the type of conflict you should be sailing out and helping with. There's no reason not to be. What am I missing here? We lost the submarine. Okay, unit of guards ready. So let's drop you down there and then have you immediately go and join this front, which we can now expand outwards. And you're right, they have completely abandoned Albania, so let's go and make them pay for that. For which we're going to need at least 1 more guard unit. So let's start training one.